Welcome to SF Commercial Property Conversations with Bruce Bean, where Bay Area investments meet expert insights. Get ready to unlock the strategies of commercial real estate success.
So today we're talking to Evin Wieser, and Evan has come from UC Berkeley in genetics and moved into property management. So it's a very interesting way to get into property management. So Evan, it's great to have you. I'd love to hear how exactly that happened because it's a very interesting journey to property management.
Yeah. So I studied genetics at Cal. I loved the sciences. I loved everything that had to go behind that. Um, right out of Cal, I went to go work for Roche. They just acquired a startup just half a year to a year before I joined in. So it was pretty cool to be part of a startup environment, flooded with cash. We were doing cutting edge DNA sequencing stuff. I was part of a small group, kind of got in early, was able to develop some nice processes, one thing or another, there working in the labs. But after a couple of years, I just felt as a scientist with a bachelor's degree, the ceiling was really low, and especially for such a big company like that. And I just didn't really kind of like the corporate lifestyle. It just didn't really fit well with how I wanted to kind of conduct my life. So 2018, I quit with no real plan, got my real estate license, uh, did a bunch of handyman work for people for a while, kind of let me meet various people, network out. And initially, someone was going to introduce me to the Swenson Development Group. I was kind of really excited about being part of development, and it's always kind of been kind of like a little bit of a dream of mine to you know be a part of a team that changes the skyline of downtown San Jose. But they weren't quite hiring at that time. Instead, the company upstairs from that, the floor above, the property management firm, they were hiring. I needed a little bit more stable work, so I decided, yeah, let's do it. Small little boutique property management firm. Started off as kind of an Excel budget grunt. Worked my way up to into. I was actually about like 1 or 2 weeks out from quitting, and then the facility manager, he quit to go find another job, and so they kind of subbed me into that spot because I had a lot of construction skills, kind of self-taught skills, and then kind of worked my way up there. We had a couple more properties come into the firm and got promoted to property manager. And now I'm managing, I don't know, a bunch of multi-story office buildings. San Pedro Square Market is one of my properties here in downtown, which is kind of a social hub, and various other little retail spots and a couple development sites. So it's
So
been
did you have some construction growing up? Did you do construction in high school or whatever?
No. When I was working for Roche, my parents, they kind of part of their retirement deals, they invested in a few properties here in downtown San Jose. And me and my dad, we fixed them up DIY style. I grew up in the mountains. So we had trees fall on our house all the time. So he had a lot of construction, self-taught construction knowledge. He was a veterinarian. The construction for dummy kind of books is where he learned it all. So he taught me a lot as he and I were kind of fixing up houses and did some student housing rentals and whatnot. So I'm managing those kind of on the side as well. And
Yeah,
that's kind of
yeah.
what got me into real estate to begin with.
So you're still managing those.
Yeah. In addition to the more commercial property management, but that's more family stuff.
Yeah, so that's great. So you had some kind of background and interest in real estate and construction and so forth. So that naturally sort of parlayed into the property management side of the equation.
Yeah. It's just I felt that compared to working to a corporate situation, you got to rely on a manager or someone to kind of validate your success with the company, and then promotions and raises from there. With real estate, it's just so much more self-driven. It's like you are in charge of your destiny. If you go out and find the right deal, and just put together this great package, whatever kind of strategy you want to take, it's all really kind of self-driven. Same thing with property management. in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, property managers are in very high demand these days because it's not the easiest job in the world, and you got to have a certain mindset for it.
Totally. I do appreciate commercial a heck of a lot more than residential.
Oh, yeah,
You
yes.
know, I won't touch residential if I can help it, uh, except for a little bit of these little family things. But yeah, getting calls at 2 o'clock in the morning, the toilet's clogged is not exactly my cup of tea.
Yeah, that's no fun. Absolutely. So right now with MCM, you're not doing any residential side.
No, we have some residential within the company portfolio, but my personal portfolio is strictly retail and commercial, or in office, excuse me.
So give us an example of some of the buildings you're currently managing.
Um, I've had actually a pretty exciting journey here in downtown. Um, so a few of the buildings, I guess currently my most exciting building or property is San Pedro Square Market. It's kind of like an adult food hall. We got multiple bars, all these little food stalls within there. We got live music almost every day of the week. We got big events going on. So it's really exciting to be kind of part of that social nucleus in downtown San Jose and be the guy kind of, you know, overlooking and managing the direction of this property. Um, and yeah, that one's really cool.
So I
I have
assume on that property, I assume you, and probably on each of these properties, you have an on-site person.
Yeah, so I'm more, since it's such a big operation, I'm more on the kind of the real estate side of things in the sense of, all the leases, ensuring that the facility management is done properly, that the budgeting is done properly, all the CAM reconciliations. When merchants and tenants kind of come in and out, making sure we have a good mix of food options for and a little bit of retail for the various customers. And then I work closely with like the operations side, and so there is an on-site manager who is more in charge of the day-to-day and busing staff and the janitorial staff and the bar staff and all that, and marketing and events.
Yeah. So I assume with that portfolio, that's the property management software you have. Is everybody paying through the portfolio portal, or are some people sending in checks? How's that working?
Yeah, majority does the ACH through Appfolio. We still got a couple old school people in there that like the checks, but
Can't quite get them converted over yet.
right,
Yeah, so they send in their checks and your accounting team takes care of it.
they take care of it. They're wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like the accounting team, that's speaking highly, yeah. If you're speaking highly of the accounting team, it sounds like they're a great crew.
Oh yeah, 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 absolutely. It is all the property managers within the firm it's we put together such a nice little group of people with this company, where everyone's strengths are highlighted to the best of their abilities, in the sense that, take me for example, like I can't sit down and at a desk for multiple hours and looking at numbers and just being that organized. I like to be out, on the ground, kind of going out, talking to my tenants, getting up on roofs and checking the various facilities, like ensuring that my properties, you know, as well taken care of as I can.
So, so in
Go.
some ways, you're kind of at the what I would call the asset level, asset management level of the team, so to speak. In other words, you kind of take over, you take a bigger view of the building itself, and then you've got your day-to-day folks kind of running the operations on an ongoing basis.
Right. At least for this property, just because it's so dynamic, and it is one that is super fun to manage, and the owner kind of, it's one of his prized possessions. I would
Oh,
personally
that's nice.
So
Yeah.
compared to the office buildings I manage, it's office is tanking right now. It's not doing so hot. I think San Jose is a 25% vacancy rate. I don't think that includes all the newly built stuff that we did. The J. Paul building, another 1 million square feet there. But those tend to be a little bit more straightforward, right? A lot less of lower impact. Tenants are really easy to work with, and just making sure that we keep them leased as best we
Yeah.
can.
Well, I assume you hire a larger leasing operation to do the leasing for you, the marketing and so forth.
We for the office buildings, we do partner up with a leasing broker.
Yeah.
For San Pedro, I kind of that we tend to get a lot of just kind of self-driven leads.
Mm.
People reaching out through the website and whatnot, saying, "Hey, I have this concept. Can I, do you have any spaces available?" So it's really more of choosing the right ones and trying to fit them in where we best can without creating competition within the market itself, because it's a percentage-based rent, and so we want all the tenants to succeed, right? If they succeed, we
Right.
succeed. And so we're really working together to make sure that we make San Pedro Square Market just the most kind of fun, dynamic space for anyone that lives in San Jose and anyone that's visiting San Jose.
How many food spots do you have in there?
Um, Off the top of my head, we got about 15, 16 food
Oh, wow.
spots.
Yeah. Okay.
Pizza, tacos. We got very different Asian style cuisines. We got Vietnamese. Um, we got Korean in there and Nepalese, and we just got just a whole bunch of exciting stuff. We got a little bit of gelato going on in there, some dosas, obviously really nice coffee shop, and then four different style bars as
Oh,
well.
wow.
Yeah,
So we're talking, are we talking liquor licenses or beer and
yeah,
wine?
yeah.
Oh,
The whole
wow.
works. We got one bar that just specializes in kind of the darker liquors. We have a tequila bar that has all the various mezcals and tequilas. We have, a tap, like 30 taps, in another building, and then we just kind of our main jack of all trades bar as well.
I'm
So,
gonna have to visit this location. I'm
oh
not aware of it. Yeah, this sounds great.
yeah, it's super fun. Live music. It's right next to the SAP Center, so a lot of people before the Sharks games, that's where they'll stop on their way to a game.
Oh, I haven't been to a Sharks game for a long time. I'm gonna have to go down and see one for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, it's fun. It's a good evening.
Well, speaking of which, you kind of started out at Berkeley in water polo.
Yeah, yeah. Been playing water polo my whole life. Still play.
So, and you're still playing.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. So, yeah, water polo is a great sport. At least I've heard that. So I've never actually played, but it looks like it's fantastic.
What I really enjoy about that sport. It's one. It's just it can get really, really physical. So it's nice to kind of have that aspect. Definitely a lot of kind of a de-stress situation. But it's just a very anaerobic exercise, right? There's not too many sports where you are forced to kind of hold your breath.
I hadn't thought about that part of it. Yeah, I mean, other than swimming, but even most competitive swimming, you're not really holding your breath.
No,
So,
you're timing your breathing,
yeah.
but for water polo, there's a lot of unexpected.
All of a sudden, you're under the water, you gotta hold your breath. Yeah. So that's interesting. When did you start actually playing water polo? If you're in the mountains of Santa Cruz, I can't imagine there's a water polo pool up there.
No, just had to drive down to Los Gatos, and there was a little intro program. I think when I was 12. I,
Wow.
I, I was never really a big fan of running, soccer and track and field and cross country. Just I don't know, I just didn't really appreciate it as much. And the second I jumped in the water, it just felt like I was in a totally different world. And then I can play a game doing this too. Sold.
So there was a natural.
Yeah, I don't know about natural, but a
It
lot of hard work, but it
is
definitely
a lot
was.
of hard work. But you didn't, compared to going into competitive swimming, you didn't do too much of that.
I didn't start doing competitive swimming until high school when I joined the swimming
Oh,
club.
okay. And then you did a little bit of that and also water polo at the same time.
Yeah. I was lucky enough, got an All-American
Oh,
for
really?
yeah. I think was my junior year on a relay, so I can't take full credit, but I
Well, that's
definitely
all
did
right.
my part.
Which stroke was this?
I was the freestyler.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Did the medley.
Yeah, the medley. Okay. And you were the freestyle guy.
Yeah.
You and Michael Phelps, huh?
Or was it the 4x1? I was one of the relays, but I was a freestyler. Well,
Good.
true to water polo, just that's all I could really do was the freestyle.
That's great. Well, but I mean, I think a sport like that really teaches you discipline and how to stay with it. And I think kind of taking that mindset into property management and real estate is a great thing to have. So,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't have that kind of background in discipline and exercise that really, in some ways, real estate is some very similar.
Yeah, it's all a lot of it's self-driven, right?
Yeah.
For the majority of niches within real estate requires you to be a very independent, self-driven person. And if you want to excel, you got to put in the time and the energy and the work,
Yeah.
just like any sport.
No, it's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah. But kind of going back to the original topic about some of the other things I manage, I think another kind of exciting, or I guess there's two kind of exciting parts of my portfolio too. Is we have a kind of I wouldn't consider them new anymore, but a development firm that kind of came out of the whole opportunity zone aspect, right? When Trump passed his first round of tax cuts, opportunity zones were created. And so a company kind of took advantage of that called Urban Catalyst. And they go in and try to buy up opportunity zones in downtown San Jose with the idea of developing these nice, beautiful buildings. So
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough and grateful enough to manage, the majority of their projects here in downtown San Jose. So it's been really fun to see, I was part of all these kind of really old, kind of rundown houses or small apartment buildings or retail spaces, kind of working with the tenants there, trying to find the best kind of packages and move out circumstances from the move out, and watching this great development company come and see the renderings, see the plans, come and start the construction process, and doing what they can to give a lot more energy and a lot more culture to downtown San Jose, because a lot of the projects that they're doing is very culture forward. They don't want to build just boring buildings. They want to come in and introduce tenants that can really change the concept and how people view downtown San Jose.
That's fantastic. This is with Swearengen, right?
With who?
What's the name of the company that does this?
Urban Catalyst.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So they're kind of made up of the owners of MCM, right?
No, totally. That's third
Oh,
party.
oh, really?
Uh,
Totally
yeah.
different. Oh,
So
I see.
MCM is the majority of our portfolio as a company is kind of family owned assets that started the company. But we do have some third party, I guess, clients you could say that came in and where we manage their properties. And so a lot of my portfolio is third party assets, and Urban Catalyst is one of them.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. So are you thinking maybe you'll eventually go into the development side of the equation?
I don't know. I'm very happy with where I am. Property management, it's one of those career paths that, as long as you stay on top of your properties and stay proactive, with your preventive maintenance agreements, your leases, your budgeting, and all that kind of stuff, it gives you a lot of freedom in terms of just kind of life, outside of work.
In
And
some ways, property management is a science.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it's not sales per se, like a lot of commercial real estate gets into, but property management is kind of a very fixed sort of science that you have to go through and get all the equations to go together and so forth.
right, yeah, and but it can be really. It just really depends on what level you want to get into details. I think a lot of property managers, they tend to really outsource their facility management. A lot of bigger firms, right? They have facility managers, and so if something goes wrong, they just refer it off to the facility manager to take care of it. Um, I like getting really hands-on when it comes to facilities, and just because I have a really good, really strong interest in how building systems work. So I do find that is a science, right? how the different fire pumps work, or the HVAC systems work, or a lot of the software involved. I mean, buildings nowadays are getting really, really smart, and it's just so exciting to see how technology and again, science, right? Because you got to develop all these things to have these buildings be essentially living creatures. And the larger you get, that there is a whole system. I mean, these buildings are so, it's houses can be pretty simple. I mean, we're all familiar with how AC works and one thing or another, but once you get to these 9, 10, 12-story buildings or even higher, like the systems in place have to be just so well engineered to be able to manage all that.
Yeah, it's a living organism, so to speak.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So that's where your science background actually probably comes in as sort of a real asset to putting all that together.
Yeah, and then elevating my construction knowledge as well on a much greater scale.
So does MCM have their own maintenance team?
We have a facility director, but we don't we tend to third party out all our maintenance stuff.
Yeah. So you're constantly dealing with contractors and subcontractors and maintenance people and that type of thing.
Right. So we have a wonderful, little black book of various technicians and trades that we call, and we've been working with for years, and it's really fun to kind of work with these various companies.
Well, and I suspect they're very responsive to your requests.
That's the key.
That is the key.
I've gone through a good number of various tradesmen and whatnot, and the ones I like to stick with are the ones that are very well communicative and great responses, and they just do good solid work. So we're not too we keep budget in mind, but and if you can communicate well and you just produce good work, really cost is just not going to come into question.
So is MCM still acquiring any properties at this point?
I'm sure the owner is always on the outlook.
Always looking.
If it's the right deal. But we tend to try to stay pretty steady. And if something right comes along where it's a good fit for both parties, then we'll take it on.
Are they developing any projects?
We do. So let's see. Anything that I'm not doing too much like MCM owned or family owned properties. So any projects that are being developed under my portfolio are all third party.
Yeah.
I believe we got a project up in Healdsburg we're doing. We just finished up a project for the county over I think on west side San Jose. But nothing too major.
But you said, I think you said earlier that you have properties kind of all over the place.
MCM as a company does.
Yeah, they've got
mainly in the San Jose area, but we've got a couple over in Idaho. We got a couple farms up in
oh wow,
Northern California, kind of owned underneath the ownership group.
So wow, that's a very diverse portfolio from farms to Idaho to California and office buildings and retail centers. That's diversified. I mean, it's right in the name. So there you go.
Yeah.
Well, this is fantastic. So Evan, how would people get a hold of you?
I guess you can reach out to my email, ewieser@mcmdiversified.com. That would probably be the best way.
So if you need some property management, come to MCM and Evan will be happy to help you out.
Yeah. And I would love if anyone is kind of familiar with the office to housing conversion stuff. Please reach out. I'd love to pick your brain a little bit about that. One of the properties I'm managing just got the plan submitted into the city. It's cool. It's right over here on 3rd Street. It was a WeWork building. It was all part of that whole Adam Newman saga and the WeWork saga.
Yeah.
That we were undergoing some pretty major construction, and then it's about halfway done the building to turn it into WeWork. COVID hit, WeWork bankruptcy hit, project totally stalled, and then it's I've been pretty much managing a vacant building there except for one tenant we have in, which is the most fantastic deli here in downtown San Jose, freshly baked. But we just submitted plans. The ownership just submitted plans to convert it to residential. So it's going to be really kind of interesting to see how that progress goes.
So are you thinking you have other buildings that you might convert, or you're just curious about this particular genre of building?
I am very curious about this particular strategy. Yes, I want because I want to.
Actually, I know one developer that I'll talk to her about it and see if she's interested in connecting with you, because she might well. She's a graduate from Stanford in civil engineering, so anyway, it might be an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, just kind of expectations and what things we need to be paying attention to.
Well, how big is this building that you're converting? I mean, if WeWorks was there, it's pretty big.
It's 9 stories with a basement, but
Whoa.
150,000 square feet.
Oh, wow. And how many units are you converting to? 9 stories, it's got to be like at least 90 units, maybe 100 and more units.
I think it's 130.
Yeah, okay, that sounds about right.
So it's Flow, right? Adam Newman's new company, Flow, is I think spearheading this whole idea and their whole strategy. So we just had a brand new building pretty much built here in downtown today, the Fay, and their whole strategy was make amenities top of the line, make apartment finishes top of the line, but these apartments are tiny. You know, they're like coffin style,
Okay.
and but they charge the most per square foot because the amenities and the finishes are so nice.
So are you kind of following that model? Is that what's happening?
The ownership is going to follow that model almost to a T.
Wow. Well, I mean, for the Valley, that makes sense, because I think a lot of people are single, they're working a lot, they don't need a huge amount of space, so the market probably is there for that type of use, I would think.
As long as they provide parking.
The parking, yeah, that's always a big issue. Yeah. So how much parking do you have in your building?
Our building is 125 stalls.
Oh, wow.
So
you
it
got,
worked out pretty nice. But
yeah.
this other building, the Fay, I think it's a 1-to-4 ratio, one parking spot to like 4 apartments.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not good. No.
I could be wrong, but that's just what I heard on the street. I haven't done
No. It sounds like you're pretty close to 1-to-1 on units. Are you putting in some affordable too? Yeah, I think you almost have to.
I would imagine so. Again, I'm not spearheading it. It's just this is one of the properties I manage. I'm accessory to the ownership group.
Yeah.
Their plans.
Well, very interesting. I definitely want to talk more about that or find out more about that down the road. So I look forward to hearing how that goes together. All right. Well, let's call it for now, and I look forward to talking to you in the future here.
All right, Bruce. I really appreciate it. This was a fun half hour or so.
It was a fun conversation.
That's a wrap on today's journey through the SF commercial real estate scene. Ready to share your story? Visit sfcommercialconversations.com/guest. Your insights could lead the next conversation.